Hello and welcome to another episode of Film Freaks with a Z, the podcast about movies. Each episode is about a single movie, and we'll get to this episode's movie in a little bit. But first, I need to invite you, the listener, to give us movie suggestions for the fan vote, which happens during Tay's episode, which is next episode. So be ready for that. Keep your eyes peeled for that vote coming out. And we always vote on the Discord now, where we've moved away from Twitter and all that. So we are now voting on the Discord. Link is in the description to join that. If you do join, make sure you say you're here for the voting, and we'll leave you alone. We'll not kick you, because we've been having a bot problem. But if you want to suggest a movie, though, you can either talk in the movie stuff section on the Discord or in the comments of the current episode, or any episode, really, of the podcast on YouTube. Or you can send us an email at ff.filmsfreaks with a Z at the end at gmail.com. Eventually, everyone's movie will be watched, unless something crazy happens. Everyone leaves the podcast at the same time. Let's go ahead and introduce ourselves before we introduce the movie. I am Planet of the Ferrets, and I'm here with...
Greedy Waffles.
I am Bright Eyes.
Wow, I'm positivity. That just took me off guard.
Well, the
Eyes.
the guy's name was Taylor in the movie, and he went by Bright Eyes.
That's right.
Oh,
You are Bright
Yeah.
Eyes.
So I am Bright Eyes. Although
Bright-Eyed
apparently
Tay.
Taylor was his last name. I
Yeah,
don't know.
George was his first name and Taylor
Yeah.
was his last.
I was like, why? Who's introducing themselves? I guess some people has a nickname.
Yeah, it's,
I
it's
guess.
the 60s. Things were different.
I guess.
Well, he was the general. You don't say the general's first name.
Well, he wasn't the general. He was a captain.
Oh yeah, Captain Taylor. Sorry, General
Yeah.
Captain. Same thing. Oh,
See,
here
if I
comes
was a
Yemmy.
captain,
Maybe on the
I was a
Planet of the
captain.
Apes, that's the same thing.
I was like, if I was a captain, I would just be like, call me Captain.
Call me Cap.
Cap.
Yeah.
capping.
Put a cap in his ass. Nope.
Well, it sounds like we should just get right into this one.
Yeah,
'cause
we already said the
we
title.
seem to be
and everything.
all eager to get into it. So, Greedy, introduce the movie for us, please.
All right, spoiler alert, we watched Planet of the Apes, the 1968, though, so the very original one, directed by Franklin J. Schaffner. Some writers are Michael Wilson, Rod Serling, Pierre Buell, some stars. Who are some of the stars in it? Charlton Heston as Captain Taylor, Roddy McDowell as Cornelius, Kim Hunter, Maurice Evans, James Whitmore, James Daly, and many more. So I want to start off this movie. I really don't want to go into negative right away, but I think this is what bothers me the most because there's a lot of great about this movie. I really do enjoy the movie, and I hate starting off with my negative, but there's more positive than negative, so get it out of the way, okay? All right, shut up.
Yeah, shut up.
All right.
Yeah, that's what our listeners like to be told. To hear.
So one thing that, and it the more I think about it, and I'm starting to learn that I shouldn't write my reviews right after the movie. Kind of gotta let it soak a little bit. But it could be Amazon, and I from my understanding, we all watch it on different platforms. So I kind of want to hear what you guys have to think about this. But I felt like the sound effects were a little obnoxious, especially in the beginning. And I can't knock it because it's a 60s movie and that's what they had back then. But it just seems so loud and obnoxious and sometimes random. One scene I did point out specifically is when they were first discovering the planet and they're falling down that cliff or that hill. And the sound was like, and I'm not talking about it in like, a monkey way. I'm just like, what? Why is this? And it sounded like tin cans, like going down some flight of stairs. I was like, this does not match up what is happening in the movie right now. So I don't know if it was just Amazon being loud and obnoxious, but it was loud and it didn't make sense sometimes.
That is how that movie is, and I agree. That's always bugged me, just the way they do their sound effects and just the music in general. It's not good.
I like the music. I thought the music was fun. The sound
Well,
effects.
well,
not really the music.
gets-
It was the sound music.
Yeah, like
if
there's
that makes
sound
sense.
mixing, like especially in the first part before they actually, run into the apes. Like they were trying to like force suspense on you when there was like nothing going on, and you're just like, they're sliding down a hill. Why are you like, dude, this is
Yeah.
scary? You're like, no, it's not. They're literally just like falling slightly down a hill.
And I
of
swear
sand.
I heard like tin cans falling down. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But like, yeah, even when like they discover the chick astronaut, she's dead, and it's like, it's like, okay,
But luckily, in the beginning of the movie, it's when it's like at the peak of all the sound effects. It kind of dies out and goes away a little bit in the middle, and then it comes back a little bit, but not too obnoxious. So
yeah,
I can't really hate it that much, but I don't know. That beginning, especially when they're going down the hill, it bothered me the most.
No, I agree that the first, like, I would say 20 minutes of the movie, the sound effects, they're pretty loud. But later on, I felt like once the apes actually show up after that whole herding scene, or what do you want to call it, the culling scene, I feel like the sound effects got toned down, almost as if like, oh, now the main action is happening and we don't need to scare our audience. Because the one that actually like really made me jump was that they discover that I think it was Jennifer or something like that is dead in her cryo chamber, and all of a sudden this really like high pitched squealing happens, and I know it's the water rushing in through the door, and they quickly zoom over to it, but that was like that was ear piercing. Like that was actually like, oh my god.
yeah. Well, that's part of the problem is some of the sound effects they use. Like again, it's like, oh, this is supposed to be the water creeping. It's like it doesn't sound like that. It sounds like somebody on I don't know, some weird tin can saw instrument, like just wailing on it, and it.
Yeah.
Oh, hold on.
Yeah, it was obnoxiously loud, that one, and the
Yeah.
rest of the movie had loud-ish sound effects, but the only one that I really noticed was that one right there, and then a couple of other things while they were trying to, before they found the human herd.
Yeah. Yeah, basically, like I said, once they find the apes and the humans, like it tones it down. But it's like everything up to that point kind of just felt like forced suspense to make you go like, oh, or like, oh, it's an alien planet, everything's weird, and it's like, okay. Like, I mean, I get you're on a very shoestring budget. Maybe they weren't. I don't know, but it is '60s, so.
Yeah, and like I said, I gotta tone it down a little bit because it's the '60s and they probably don't know better or don't have the ability to do better.
I mean, they do. They do. I mean, you think about some of the movies we've watched on this podcast that came out, around this time or before this time, and that was just the style for for sci-fi stuff. To be like theremins and just
Abrasive.
yeah, basically like, oh look, I mean, it was to be like, it's alien, ooh.
Yeah, like I said, them rolling down the hill and it was like do that. It was like, what?
Yeah. Yeah. And then when the boulders like start rolling towards them, and that one like later on, and they're like, it's like high suspense music, and it's like, it's two rocks that like they easily avoided.
Well, yeah, it is like an easily avoidable thing, but I think the thing you got to give this movie credit for, at least in that moment, is like the actual actors are doing all of this stuff. Like they're jumping off the cliffs and they're doing all the physical action. So like I'm guessing that the rocks are probably not that heavy, but they still need to make it look like there was some sort of suspense going on. So they're like, okay, so just like pretend like you're shuffling along and you don't notice the boulders, and then shuffle along a little bit faster. 'Cause that's all it takes to get out of the way of those things.
Yeah. Like I feel like, especially because like the first part of this movie, when they're kind of exploring, I feel like a good 10 minutes of that could have probably been just cut out.
Yeah, that was another one of my downers of the movie. It took a while
Downers.
to get going. Downers, yeah.
No, I disagree though. I think that the beginning is a little long, but I feel like setting the stage and showing like because they wanna fool you, right? Making you think this is a alien planet and whatever. So they gotta try and really hammer that home. Like, look at how weird this place looks. So look at how look at this, look at that. Like, and of course you spend a little bit of time with these astronauts and you get to kind of understand their characters before two of them are pretty much killed off right away. And you start to understand the character motivations and stuff like that, obviously. And there's also just like Taylor as a person before all this stuff goes down. I think setting up like his at least all three of the characters, setting them up as in like, okay, here they are pre discovering that there's humanoid apes out there, right? And before they get captured, and like this is how they see the world, and this is how they do things, and then once they get captured, or one of them gets captured at least, his whole world gets flipped upside down. So I think that yeah, sure, it does go on a little long, but in my opinion, at least, I thought that it did a good job of like setting the stage and showing you just how desolate this area is, and kind of getting you prepared for the rest of the movie.
Well, I do like the scene like where you kind of learn about their worldviews and stuff, and like I don't want that cut, but it's just yeah, I still feel like there was just scenes of them just walking and walking.
Mm-hmm.
Um, they could have cut some of that stuff out and like still made it, kept the whole feel and like teaching us about these astronauts, and still made that first part a little shorter.
I agree.
Yeah, that's fine. I disagree. I liked the length of it. It could have been trimmed here and there, but I think that showing the scale and how far they've been journeying is also a good thing to show, because now they can't just be like, oh yeah, just go see our spaceship in the pool over there. It's like they actually made a journey, and of course we learn later on why the apes don't go over there, but it gives them a reason not for Taylor to be like, oh, just go search for our crashed ship. That's a 3 days journey to through arid desert.
That's another thing, is since they never show them like at night or anything as on this journey, it felt like it was just a day of walking, not 3 days. Like, it wasn't until dialogue where they're like, you're at 3 days. It's like, oh, okay. What happened to the nights?
I guess they don't really. It doesn't really matter in the long run, but I guess it could be a little bit confusing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess my like main criticism here, like there's a few nitpicks I have with the movie, but my one main criticism is there are two parts of this movie that are extremely sexist. And it's unfortunate because I think the rest of the movie is really well written and really well acted, but there's the first part of the movie where the astronauts are talking about the dead lady, and the captain's like, she would have been our Eve, and we were three men hungry to give her our love or whatever. And it's like, okay, that's pretty sexist. And then later on, as Taylor's developing this relationship with Nova, like just the way that he's like treats her throughout like the later half of the movie, where she's more of like a piece of equipment he's trying to move. It's a bit odd. I mean, I understand like when Nova first gets introduced, and the what's her name, Zero is trying to get them to mate, because it's like they're just seen as animals to them, like us to a zoo, right? So like I understand why she's more treated as like kind of like a baby making machine there, but later on, like, okay, like we don't need the show, we don't need to have like Taylor like pushing and shoving her and shooing her away and stuff. Like, come on.
Yeah.
And that was my main thing, and it's really only like the two scenes from what I remember. But the first one that I was talking about before, that one's the more egregious one, where it's like,
oh, for sure,
that lady was going to be used for making babies, and that was it, and it's a good thing she died.
Yeah.
Well, especially because like, us now, we know astronauts are highly skilled like people, and it's like we got the skilled scientist and pilot and astronaut, and she's only here to breed. It's like, wow, okay.
It made me feel good as a woman, personally.
Oh yeah. Well,
Yeah.
at that point, it's like, well, why didn't you send 3 ladies and 1 dude?
Yeah.
Because women are smarter than that.
Well, yeah, they can only find 1 woman who is like, it'd be fun.
I didn't realize how much ass I would see in this movie. That
Oh,
was
yeah.
Yeah.
surprising.
Yeah, there's
At
plenty
the
of
pond,
ass,
they're like, oh,
a little
here
bit
you
of
go.
a little bit of peen, you know,
A little bit of peen action.
tasteful
Yep.
peen.
Tasteful peen.
Well, you would know that, Yummy.
I'm
How
actually
peen
not the one
tastes
who
like.
pointed it out when I was watching the movie. By the way.
Mhm.
I
Yeah, very, very shocking. I was like, oh, they're gonna get their clothes back soon. Nope.
Right? I was thinking the same thing. I was like, okay, like they're done. Can we be done? No, okay. All right, that's fine.
Yeah.
Bare ass it is. Great.
I know that it was on your bucket list to see Charlton Heston's butt.
On my butt. It was.
Your butt. It list, yes.
That was actually like I was crossing my fingers, like, please let this be the day. And here we are.
It
so-
was.
It was. Yeah.
Little did he know, it went above and beyond.
Absolutely. Thank you for making my dreams come true, you guys.
You're
No
welcome.
problem.
It was great.
Well, podcast over. I mean,
Yeah, I mean-
Wow.
that was our main goal.
Yep.
This has been a journey just to get it so you can see his butt. We played
Alright,
the long con.
Hey, speaking of butts, what do you guys think of like how the apes looked and everything? I thought they were very well done. I like the
Yeah.
doctor. I like his what's the word I'm looking for? His overall look, because you knew like, okay, that's him, then that's the doctor, and that's the one that everyone likes. And even all the apes, I saw the trailer. As I was going through this last time when I recommended it, I was like, oh gosh, these look like just humans dressed up in ape costumes, but no, they all acted and dressed up very well, especially for a '60s film.
They actually, they won an Oscar, I believe, or a
Did they?
Golden Globe. One of them,
Nice.
for their the costumes.
Oh yeah,
and stuff.
6 wins and 4 nominations.
Yeah, I thought the costumes were pretty well done too. Obviously, there's a bit of like immersion breaking when you see like the human's teeth behind the ape teeth or whatever every so often, but I think it kind of keeps you in there because of how consistent they are with their their mannerisms and like the different things that they do. And just how they talk in general, it stays really consistent, which is nice. So even when you do sometimes see the cracks form, it's easy to kind of just go over them because everything else is. I mean, everything's just going along so smoothly for these costumes and the people inside these costumes. They look really good. And obviously it's not going to hold a candle to the CG Dawn and War and whatever Planet of the Apes are coming out nowadays, but. For the time and for how well they've stood up to the test of time, it all looks good. It looks good.
Yeah. I think that I don't know for sure. The 2001 one I think was also costumes.
Yes, it was.
Yeah, and those costumes looked even better. But obviously we had a lot of time between there where they had prosthetics and robotics and whatnot to animate faces. But
I think I like them better practical rather than animated.
oh, for sure.
I
agree.
like that a lot better.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Speaking of, is that all we had for costumes and all that?
Yeah,
I think so.
feel like some of the costumes were a little, like I couldn't tell the difference between Dr. Zaius and the president of the whatever university.
Cornelius?
Cornelius, yeah.
No, not Cornelius. The 2 orangutans.
Dr.
I guess they were supposed to be Dr. Zaius.
Zaius.
It was like the main orangutan, and then there was
Dr.
another
Honoris.
Honoris. Yeah,
Honors,
they
okay.
looked too much alike. 'Cause at one point when Taylor was talking to one of them, I was like, which one is he talking to? I can't tell.
I'll be honest, I never had a problem deciphering between the
Yeah,
different
I didn't either.
apes.
Those are
I
the
didn't
only
either.
those are the only two that I had a problem with.
Because I mean, if you don't know who it is, it's usually Dr. Zarius in there. I realized pretty early on because he's more the main orangutan guy that's in all this. And
For
the only scene that they show them all together anyway is like the trial. So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
but even then, like I think they gave them distinct enough facial features to know the difference between them. I mean, in a vacuum, I probably, show me a picture of one of them right now. I'd probably only know what Zarius looks like, honestly. But when I was watching the movie, I didn't get confused.
It's Zaius, not Zarius.
Zayeth.
Zaius. You guys, do you remember that Simpsons episode where they did Planet of the Apes, the musical?
No.
I've
With
never
Troy
seen The
McClure?
Simpsons.
You've never seen The Simpsons?
No.
Yeah,
Okay.
I didn't watch The Simpsons either. Wasn't my show when I was growing up.
Same.
Fair. Well, by the time you guys started growing up, the show had already started to go downhill.
But they predicted everything, Tay. They predicted our future.
No, they didn't.
Do enough episodes, you'll predict something.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of social commentary in there, and guess what? We aren't very unique, and we repeat shit all the time.
So it's just this is me nitpicking at this point. Another thing that I felt like it felt more slow than anything, is when they were like the apes would use their little clubs to like beat on the astronauts and stuff, or like just use them as a weapon. It just seemed like it was a little slow, like they were kind of afraid to hit each other with it. Another one I noticed is like when they got caught up in like the nets that they use, which I know they're doing it live and they're actually like getting physically dragged like that. And yeah, maybe they did slow it down a little bit, but I just felt like anytime like that would happen in the movie, it was just like slow, and it's like, okay, here comes the bash, and then all of a sudden they're on the ground. It's like, okay.
I honestly don't agree with that. I
Yeah,
thought
I
a lot of the
didn't really
stunt
notice
stuff
anything like
was snappy, and like even the parts where like they're doing the culling of the humans and like the nets being thrown out, like that's all. I mean, it seemed all natural to me.
It just seemed like when
I
they
mean-
were getting like caught up and then dragged, it seemed slowed down. And again, like I said, it's them actually doing it, so yeah, it probably slowed it down a little
Well,
bit.
the apes usually drop the net, so it wouldn't keep going the speed of the horses because they drop the net. Like the few times that like when Taylor's trying to escape from
Yeah, towards the end.
the doctor, like when he's caught up in that net at the end and lifted up, like that's, I mean, it's a pretty snappy sequence. Like they don't hold back.
No, I really
even
like
even
the whole
even when the
sequence.
horses do drag the net onto him, like I mean, there's
I
no
like that whole
slowdown.
sequence where he's trying to escape. I thought that was fun.
Yeah. It was a good sequence. I mean, I'm like I said, it just me nitpicking and just saying, just my thought. So
Yeah,
nothing bad. Nothing.
I mean, there's no.
Nothing
I mean,
I'm
there's
hating the movie on.
there's no problem with disagreement. I don't agree with it.
I disagree.
I thought that the
You know,
action stuff
yeah.
was all pretty snappy and looked pretty good.
And I think that's the only negatives I have. So, all right.
Well, yeah, there's more
What
than
do you
just
guys-
negatives, I think.
What do you guys think overall? Like, I thought like the I guess you could say it's kind of politics in here,
Oh, it's
which
politics.
and I think they did a very good job of like, and I think it still holds up very well. And that they do a very good job of like staying true to that throughout the movie, like especially on the apes coming. I mean, I guess that's when it starts, but I think they did a very good job, and it still kind of stands true a little bit. But what are you guys' opinions on that? I thought it was very well done.
Yeah, I thought the
Yeah.
overall like message and stuff, not just in the background, but obviously very much in the foreground, is pretty relevant still today. Obviously, swap the rules of humans and apes and their to make it more believable, I suppose. But there's a lot of social commentary that still rings true, and the idea that the the ape leadership is telling the apes not to go into this forbidden zone because it was New York, and they don't want them to know, like, oh yeah, the humans used to be smart and blah blah blah. They want to keep them dumb, and they want to keep the apes in a state where they don't become smart enough to use, weapons of mass destruction and stuff like that. Which, yeah, it's pretty biting commentary, obviously, because at the time it was a Red Scare, right? What's happening during the 60s?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and, not just like, the commentary on classism and racism and evolution. Those were all like kind of big topics, especially
Someone
then.
said, "Hey, let's put all of this in one controversial movie. Let's do it."
Yeah. And so they did.
And so they did. I think it still holds up. Overall, it's not a terrible movie, but it's definitely not my cup of tea.
I'm sorry, you say it's not your cup of tea, like regarding politics, or?
But, well, I mean, not necessarily. I kind of like movies that make you think politically, but which is weird because I hate politics in general.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, that's fine. It's just like that type of sci-fi stuff, like the world has ended and new life begin. It kind of freaks me out a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
Well, technically, new life hasn't begun, quote unquote, because the apes are already smart enough by the time that the humans started to die out and kind of devolve.
I said movies like it. I didn't say this was that.
So,
actually.
so I was gonna I'm gonna say something here about the whole Planet of the Apes movies, the originals, which kind of goes over the ending. Which we find out, oh no, it's been Earth all along.
Classic.
Spoilers. No, it is a classic, and that for the time that blew people's minds, because something like that hadn't been done before. But basically, in the second one, there's like a doomsday cult still alive with a nuke underground, and they set it off and blow up the planet. And
Nice.
And then two of the monkeys, I think it's
Cornelius
and
Zero.
Zero, yeah. They get thrown back in time and basically start this cycle of
The third movie is they're back in time, and
yeah. And then the fourth movie is like, I can't remember it. Basically, but yeah, the two apes go back in time, have a baby, and then start the apes off. So they're these smart apes, and then the humans kill themselves off in a battle against them, and then the apes take over. So it's like a
that's
loop.
conquest.
Yeah. So it's just a loop where it's like, oh, the apes didn't evolve smart. They made
were
themselves
smart.
smart.
Yeah, they just
Yeah.
were.
They just were. It was a paradox. I don't know. Like I said, I haven't seen the fourth or fifth movie ever.
Yeah, I read the synopsis for each one before the podcast started, so it's kind of fresh in my mind because, but beneath the Planet of the Apes, it follows a crew of space people who were searching for the original shipwreck, and they find the underground cult, and then the nuke goes off, and in the next movie, the two apes are brought back into time, and initially they're like welcomed, and then obviously things happen. And then they have in the, I think it's the fourth movie, they have the child, and they start forming like a group of monkeys or apes on the new Earth, and then Battle for the Planet of the Apes is the culmination where the apes take over and decimate the ground forces of the people. I think that's kind of how it goes.
Something like that.
But I think as like a single story, like if we put this movie into just a vacuum and say this is the only Planet of the Apes movie that ever came out,
Oh yeah.
I think that it's a pretty decent narrative just on its own, and I think that it works. And obviously, these many sequels weren't planned. I mean, the director never came back for another Planet of the Apes movie, and he never came back for them, which might be why the downfall of the series came along. But it's just one of those movies that I think it works on its own. It does work in terms of like the entire narrative, I guess, but if you look at it on just its own merits, I think it works really well just on its own. It doesn't have to be attached to this entire series.
No, agreed. I think just having the first one standalone, I think, works better than adding all this other weird.
Yeah, you try and like tackle even like you're already tackling enough subjects in this one movie, right? All this social and political commentary in one movie. To try and continue like the series and try and have it as much weight as this one does, you can't do it. And obviously, the IMDb and Letterboxd scores obviously reflect the downfall of the series, obviously, which you can pretty much attribute to probably.
Yeah, I'll say typical Hollywood story. There's one successful movie that has a good message, and then they're like, we can milk this franchise, and then all the other movies lose that message, and
let's do it again.
Yeah.
That didn't work out. Let's do it again. Yeah.
And again. And again.
And again. And again. Want to see me do it again?
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought just kind of moving along here. I thought that the writing, minus the what I already mentioned, I thought the writing was excellent in this movie, especially the scene where it's Taylor on trial and they're going over all the points and like how he's not allowed to defend himself, so he writes down his note to Cornelius and he gives it to Zaius, and I thought that whole sequence was really good, and obviously it all culminates with Taylor trying to escape because Zaius doesn't want word that the humans are smart getting out, but I thought that the most interesting part of the movie was that whole court scene, I guess you could call it.
Yeah.
I think it's funny though, I understand kind of shatters the worldview that there's other planets and stuff, but I mean it's like a perfect escape. You're like, oh, you're from another planet, so humans here, they're not smart. You're from a different planet where they are. Okay, cool.
Yeah, I like the side like this version, this better, because like the new reruns of this, Dawn War, whatever, is just slaughtering of apes or apes slaughtering humans. It's just back and forth. It seems like for all the whole new series.
Yeah, it's definitely more bombastic in the Dawn, at least, because that's the one where like the monkeys are like dual wielding LMGs and shit.
And spoilers: the first 5 minutes is just a giant battle between humans and apes.
Yeah, I mean that's basically what the attempted reboot by Tim Burton was. Like, got rid of all the messaging from this movie and went, so what if the humans still could talk and they're trying to resist the apes? And it's like, you've lost the point, Tim Burton.
Yeah, and even with the the trailers of the new one that's coming out next week or a few weeks, Kingdom, it just looks like the same thing. It's just more angry, war, fighting each other kind of thing.
Yeah, no social commentary.
What do you guys think of Taylor losing his vocal cord? Do you think that was a good idea, or?
Oh yeah, I thought that was a great idea. Like to have him be in this like foreign world essentially, and not being able to speak right away is the perfect way to both have him be imprisoned and put into this world, and also for us as an audience to also be put into the same world. It works. I think it works brilliantly.
Because we know in the beginning, like, he's trying to, like, speak, and, like, the apes are like, oh my god, he can't speak, he doesn't know what he's doing, like, because it's what Dr. Sirius wants is the other apes to think humans are dumb, and, like, Taylor's trying to, like get pen and paper. That's all he wants, and they think the human or Taylor is just trying to be aggressive when all he's trying to get is pen and paper.
Oh, and it actually benefits him because it gives him a chance to kind of learn about the society and how it works. Because Landon, I think his name was, the other astronaut, didn't lose his vocal cords. Was caught talking right away, and they immediately lobotomized him.
Oh man, that reveal that he was lobotomized. Perfect. I mean, come on, like that was. I mean that's just great screenwriting 101 right there.
Yeah, no, it was good. And I like that he finds the other astronaut like has been just stuffed and put in a museum.
Yeah, that was that's like a horror moment right there.
Yeah.
His eyes are glazed over and just that's a horror movie moment right
I
there.
wonder if they put him in the museum because they had never seen like a black man before.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, me too.
And they're just like, oh, this is unique. I mean, Taylor being blonde was unique too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the fact that he had bright eyes, he actually had light eyes versus just the brown eyes.
Yeah, the black guy had the blue eyes, right, or the bright eyes, right?
No, Bright Eyes was Taylor.
No, like not the nickname Bright Eyes. Like I'm saying Bright Eyes. I think it was blue or glossy. The ones we were just talking about. It was the same guy,
Well,
right?
once he was in the museum, yeah, his eyes were glazed over and just basically white. I mean, the contacts had a blue tint to them, but they were supposed to be white.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty brutal. Yeah, but it's what we do to animals. We stuff them and put them on display. And yeah, I think I mean the upside down nature of it all is really interesting too. Like just how like. Because you're obvious. We're all obviously on the side of Taylor. Like, oh, he's smart. He's whatever. But the chimps and the apes and whoever don't see it that way. They see him they see the humans as animals, and that's why they cull them, kind of like how we cull deer. Because if there's too many humans, then they're gonna ravage your crops and whatever. So of course, they're taking pictures next to the dead bodies and they're skinning them and whatever. And it's all just like really interesting. It's very, the topsy-turvy nature of it all is just.
Yeah.
I found it just fascinating. Like, and especially for like the '60s to have like this forward of concepts in there, like it's crazy.
Yeah, I do wish they had addressed in the movie. They kind of like talked about it slightly. Is that they don't ever really go over why the humans are mute now.
Yeah, that's one. That's one thing they don't really. I was guessing it's because of some disease that happened back in the day. Because they didn't just bomb their stem cells out. They also said that there was a sickness that swept through, which is obviously what the newer movies latch onto more so is the sickness. Like there was that the disease that was killing humans. Whereas in this movie, it's kind of like, well, the bombs went off, and then there was like a disease, and I was guessing that maybe just through the disease, we lost our speech, and we just never learned to re-talk again or something like that. But they're like mute. They're not like, it's not like they can still make like noises. Like they are like actually mute. So it's almost I almost wonder if like a group of humans a long time 2,000 years ago who were affected by like radiation from a bomb or the sickness lost their use of their vocal cords, and when they reproduced, that went into the offspring. I don't know.
That makes sense, and I do like that they're mute. Like that's some of the one thing that like just watching the trailer for the 2001 one, the reboot, is like all the humans talk, and it's like.
Well, like that shows that they are still intelligent, right?
Yeah.
Like we look at pigs and cows and whatever kind of creature. I mean, even the more smarter creatures like octopuses and elephants and dolphins, like we still see them as lower life forms, right? If the humans talked in this movie, it would be morally wrong for the apes to cull them and kill them and whatever, right?
Exactly.
From our perspective, obviously, it's wrong just because we're humans and we don't want to see each other. But from the apes' perspective, it's like, okay, we got to take these, there are too many of them. Yeah, they're deer, essentially. So having them talk in the 2001 movie just, it just ruins the whole thing, honestly.
And even, like, I don't know why, like, for this movie, like, they have this hidden scripture about how man could talk and was smart, but they're destructive, and if they get great numbers, they'll just, like,
The hidden text.
Yeah, it's like, why is that hidden? That should be, like, everyone should know. It's like, yeah, no, we didn't come from the humans, but the humans are destructive if we let them multiply, so we need to just don't do it.
Well, it might be easier just as a society to think of them as animals instead of, they could be this, but they're not.
Yeah, I guess.
There would definitely be more sympathizers out there, I suppose you could say. Because that is, I mean, that's obviously like a world-shattering thing to, to get out, and obviously, I think, Zarius knows what the consequences would be if the apes knew that the humans could, do all this stuff, and they were the dominant species 2,000 years ago and whatever, and I also think about it in like, well, I lost my thought. Yeah, someone else talk. I lost my thought.
Is that right? No, I've lost my thought.
Next.
Next, I mean, I think I've hit all my points besides the end, and we already touched on it by saying the plot twist at the end. I mean, it was a pretty good plot twist.
Yeah, it's classic. It's a classic ending, and if only I could watch this movie for the first time when it was fresh and no one knew, like that would just elevate the experience so much. Because it's still a great twist, but we all know about it, right? Like even before you watch the movie, if it's your first time watching it, like you've seen the parodies, you've seen even Spaceballs has a scene like that in the movie.
Yeah.
Like it's just been parodied so often that everyone kind of knows the big twist, which is of course why the 2001 movie, from what I remember, had to change that, and it was a dumb twist. but this was like the original, like big twist that I really liked. I mean, obviously you can see it coming even beforehand, but I think like the visual of the Statue of Liberty being like, obviously rusting and being, hit by the waves and stuff like that at the end of the movie, like just that visual alone is just a really compelling thing. It's like a really great visual of him on his knees, screaming, saying like you blew it all up, and yeah, it's a great scene.
Yeah, that scene, and then when he's being sprayed by the hose, yelling, "It's a madhouse!" That is another like iconic scene that you see repeated over and over, or parodied
many times.
Yeah.
I just could have originally seen this without seeing the remakes first, but oh well.
Yeah, I mean the remakes. I mean they're obviously like better looking, and I honestly feel like at least the second movie has worse writing and a worse narrative than this one. The second, as in like I think it's Rise or whatever, because there's Dawn, which is the first reboot, and then Rise, right?
Oh, the reboot.
Yep.
Yeah. So
Dawn, Rise, then War. Yeah.
I almost feel like this movie has better writing than all three of those, even though I like the first the remake movie, I guess you could reboot movie. I think this one has better writing than all three, at least the two that I've seen of the new movies. I feel like it has better writing, and obviously audiences change as the years go on, and this one is definitely more like eloquently written, I guess you could say. It almost feels like a play at times, whereas the newer movies need to have like the action taking place, and there needs to be tons of effects and blah 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 blah. Whereas it's more, you go back to this movie and it's a more simpler time, and the dialogue is a little bit more drawn out and a little bit more limerickal, I guess you could say. And it just, I don't know, there's just a vibe about it, that's just like, yeah, I kind of like, I mean, this first movie at least better than the writing and the two reboot movies.
Yeah.
Also, this movie doesn't have Mark Wahlberg in it, so that's also a plus as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Mark Wahlberg. Trying to think of a movie with Mark Wahlberg where you go like, "Oh, that's a good movie." I know there's at least one. There's got to be, right?
Transformers: Age of Extinction.
No, come on. Be serious here. I feel like there is at least one.
I'm looking at his movies right now. The Perfect Storm.
I didn't see that one, but that might be it.
Yeah, that's the only standout for me personally. I mean, he was in Boogie Nights and The Departed. You can't say Uncharted. You can't. I mean, both the Ted movies, whatever. The Lovely Bones, not great. The two Transformers movies,
Transformers
like the two
movies
most
and-
garbage movies in the series.
Yeah.
Deepwater Horizon was decent. He was like the main guy in Deepwater Horizon.
I didn't see that one either. I don't know, but I swear there's at least one I've seen though that I was like, it's okay.
It might have been
Or
The
maybe-
Happening. I don't know.
No, it was not The Happening.
Three Kings. Daddy's Home.
That no.
Andy's home.
Oh gosh.
That's the one where Will Ferrell is Mark Wahlberg's father, I think.
No, I think they were partners or something, or I don't remember.
Yeah, who cares?
I didn't see it.
Look, Mark's not even in this movie. Let's just move past.
It's true.
Enough of Wahlberg.
I mean, I'm ready for ratings if you guys are.
If anyone else has anything they want to say about the movie, please speak now, and not just in your review. Your final rating, I should say.
When you mentioned like that it felt almost play like, I didn't think of like there was something about it that was like drawing me in. It was exactly that 150%.
Yeah.
I think it was the costumes, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
And like the dialogue, I guess. And
It's very Shakespearean.
Yeah, it
pace
is.
and all that. Yeah.
yeah, like the speed at which they were going. I'm trying to think of the name for that, but that too. Give total play
The
vibes,
cadence,
which I
I
like.
guess. Yeah.
That's it. Yep.
Yeah, there's been an art to writing movies that has kind of gotten lost as the years go on. Like a lot of the 60s and 50s and especially the 40s. Like if you go back to like a 40s movie, like it's like it is exactly like they're acting out a play on a stage, right? Because the dialogue is just it's made in that way because movies were pretty new back then. And as time goes on, we get less and less of like these more eloquent like monologues and stuff like that. And now we're in more of an age of like that's more of like a thing that you point out and go, wow, that monologue was great. I wish there was more of that stuff, right? But no, nowadays you kind of it's more of like that back and forth and the performance is more so selling it than the dialogue is, I guess you could say.
Well, it doesn't help that a lot of people nowadays have very short attention spans. So like you need your movie to move fast and like be bombastic and explosive and action. Well, in the older, back then, plays is what they had.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, Planet of the Apes obviously isn't like one for one a play, but you can definitely tell I guess
Yeah.
maybe even the inspirations for some of the dialogue is definitely, like you said, Shakespearean. I mean, just comparing it to the Dawn of the Planet of the Apes or whatever, Rise. The dialogue in there is very much like, one person's talking to the other person. It's just back and forth, giving exposition and dumps and stuff like that. Whereas in this movie, I felt like the exposition is shown rather than just like flat out talked about, right?
Yeah.
There's so much. I mean, there's so much good writing in here. It sucks that there is those sexist moments in the film because the rest of the writing is just like so immaculate, so well done. It just all flows so naturally, and I wish I could be like 100%. The writing is awesome, but like there's those two stains on this script that just brings it down a little bit.
Yeah. You know, back when I was doing school for film, you know, like that was always the big thing that they were always trying to teach filmmakers, you know, I guess future filmmakers stuff is like for exposition and stuff, you know, show don't tell.
Right.
And yeah, I feel like there's a lot of movies nowadays that are it's easier to tell though.
Yeah, obviously that's the easy way to do it, you know.
But it's not a good way.
Right, and there are ways to do it through dialogue. It's just
Yeah.
not a lot of movies can pull it off like Planet of the Apes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I especially love that scene where they first find out that Taylor can communicate with the writing and stuff like that, and he's making paper airplanes and stuff. And it's just such a lovely scene. And of course, when Zaius comes in, he crumples it up, and it's a very dramatic moment. And that moment where he crumples it up and he gives like that commanding line, I forget exactly what he says, but that felt very play-like. Like, the crumple of the paper and the zoom in on the paper and stuff. Like, that felt very play-like. But the entire scene in itself felt very natural still. The writing is great in the movie.
Yeah. Besides, like, I mean, it felt all very natural until they like paused to zoom in and then crumple the paper.
Right. That's the very play-like.
Yeah, that's very dramatic and like over the top. Where you're like, yeah, okay, got it. Definitely play-like. Took me out of the scene a little bit. And there's a few times where that happens, where they always wait for the camera to finish zooming in before they do an action. Like there was like three or four of them
Yeah, it happened
throughout
a
the
couple
movie.
times, yeah.
Yeah, where it's just like, oh, okay, yep, that took me out. In a movie.
And then, once again, I had a thought.
I'm right there with you today.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say like the newer the 2001 remake obviously egregiously did this, but like I'm happy that in Planet of the Apes from 1968 there's no like, oh, here's the Ben Franklin ape and here's the here's the George Washington ape and here's the just like apes based on real people, right? And the 2001 version, the end has like Abraham Lincoln, and it's just like the goofiest shit ever.
Sense.
Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense, and like it's just confusing. It's just, huh?
Well, when one of the ape, I think it was, I forget which one, it was like one of the heavier ones, had like double machine guns. I'm like, all right.
That's not the 2001 movie.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you referred to the 2021 movie.
No, 2001. The end of the movie is, I think,
Instead of him finding the Statue of Liberty destroyed,
yeah, he
and
finds.
goes, oh, this is Earth. He finds the Lincoln Memorial, but Abe Lincoln is an ape.
Yeah.
And just like, what does this even mean?
Yeah, it's just jumbled and stupid, and like I like how this version of Planet of the Apes just, I mean, it's all just like a new world essentially. There's no apes that are like, this is the Wilbur and Orville Wright apes. Like, no, it's just they're all unique characters, and that's what I like about this movie, because it could easily fall into that trap of like, and I'm the studious Benjamin Franklin here. I'm going to invent electricity. Like, it could have been really dumb like that, and I'm glad that it's not.
I'm glad it didn't go that route either. And like I said, I don't know what Tim Burton was thinking in 2001, but
A lot of people claim he was just sleepwalking through the production, so.
When he just had weird ideas that he's just like, oh, we should do that. Like, he even had Charlton Heston as an ape. Got Charlton Heston back to be an ape and say his iconic, "You blew it all to hell," but as an ape. It's like, what? Oh, it's so bad. So bad. Anyways.
Yeah, and in terms of sci-fi movies as well, there's a couple that are just extremely drawn out and boring. The one that comes to mind is The Black Hole from 1979. Like, and this is like 10 years after Planet of the Apes. It's like that is such a slog to get through. Like, it's cool at times, but it's just like so meandering, and you, like, what's the point, you know? And Planet of the Apes from 1968, the dialogue is just I'm gushing a bit. Obviously, I'm a big fan of this movie, but just, you know, they get they're snapped. They get to the point. The dialogue is written well, and they're not just circling around topics and whatever. The dialogue is just incredibly well written,
Agreed.
especially for, you know, sci-fi.
Yeah. Oh, I think if I remember right, I feel like this was one of the very like people were surprised that like a sci-fi movie could win awards at this point, even though I think Godzilla had won an award, like the original Godzilla in '58. But
I don't know if 2001: A Space Odyssey won any awards, but it came out the same year.
I thought it came out in '67.
I'm seeing 68 here. Could be
Okay.
wrong.
Yeah, I mean, it might be. I just know it was before '69 because that's when the moon landing was, and everyone was like,
Oh, it's
Space
possible.
Space Odyssey is like was Kubrick's like audition tape to do the moon landing faking.
Oh yeah.
And it's like no, it wasn't. I don't know. Yeah, space. I do think 2001 probably won an Oscar.
Now there's you know, you'd be surprised how many movies you think won an Oscar, and then you go look and you're like, what?
It may
Like-
have just been nominated.
Well, like
but either way-
Shawshank Redemption is one of those movies recently. I was like, it didn't win any Oscars. No, it got snubbed by it got overshadowed by Forrest Gump. I was like, what the fuck?
True. Although I didn't care for Space Odyssey 2001. I thought it was slow and boring. Like what you were just talking about.
Yeah, well, you know, yeah. I mean, I haven't seen 2001 since I must have been a kid when I saw it, because my dad was a big like sci-fi nut when I was young. So like I saw Planet of the Apes when I was like 6 years old, and obviously I had nightmares throughout those years. You know, he showed me a bunch of those older movies.
Yeah.
And this was one of them. And the thing that always scared me the most was that scene with the lady dead inside of the sleep pod. And I nightmares all the time of that alone. Thanks, Dad.
Yeah.
All right. Any last thoughts?
I think I'm good.
All right. It is my movie, so I will start it off. Planet of the Apes, 1968. Very, very well done movie. I really love the politics of this movie. Really love like how the court side perspective of this, and I really enjoyed, you know, the costume design of the apes and overall the aesthetics of the island, and just overall the theme of the sets. I really enjoyed all that. I really enjoyed the storytelling throughout this, and the acting was very well done by everybody. Very well done. The only complaint is, as I said in the beginning, is just the loud, obnoxious sound effects. And I'm glad I was like, maybe it's just, you know, Amazon, you know, so I'm glad it's, we all came to a conclusion. We all agreed on that. But like I said, again, it is a 60s movie, so I think they just could have done a little better, you know, toning that down, making some of them, you know, not sound like tin cans rolling down a hill, or down a set of stairs while they're rolling down a hill. A lot of, like I said, I felt like some of the scenes, some of the, like, not chase scenes, but like them getting tied up in nets and stuff, some of them just felt slow to me personally. I know you guys don't agree with that, which is okay. It wasn't, you know, breaking to me, but I really love the design of the apes. I really, you could really distinguish which one was who, according to me. I really enjoyed it. Overall, I found this movie. I wish I'd seen this first, according to the new ones. Um, I really enjoyed this side of it better than like the new remakes where it's just war and this and just fights of the apes versus the humans. I really wish they would have stuck with this kind of storytelling and theme. That being said, I'm gonna give it a 4 out of 5.
Okay. Yeah, I agree with a lot of that. Like this movie, I watched it first when I was a little kid, and just have always enjoyed it. And I think it's written well. The just the whole idea of the story, tackling these issues like classism, racism, other isms. I can't remember at the moment. My brain's dead. No, I think they did a really good job with that, and yeah, I agree with you there, Greedy, that like the beginning half or the first 20 minutes when they're on this new alien planet, it's a little much, especially with all the weird sound effects and stuff they're doing. Gives me a bit of a headache, and it just felt like forced, forced like I said this earlier. My brain is dead, guys. It just felt forced. Whatever.
Forced tension, I think you said.
Tension. Thank you. It's like my brain. Yeah, it just felt like forced tension, and it's just like, okay, this is like you can do some cool things, like just exploring this alien planet without like trying to make it be like, oh, there's tension everywhere you look. It's like it's a vacant world. But overall, I still really enjoy this movie, and I think it tells a good story. And I'd give it a 4.5 out of 5.
Wow.
Uh-oh. Don't like the sound of that from Ray.
I'm gonna give it a 2.
Honest to goodness, when we first started, I was heavily debating on a 2, but I will say after
Based on the first 20 minutes, I would give it a 2 as well.
Yeah.
Based on the first 20 minutes, the ass, all the ass, and the sexist remarks, it was right there at a 2. Like overall, I really appreciated all of the practical effects that came with this movie. Which is one thing I love about older films like this. Like even like the Star Wars, I think the first one came out in 1977. Love that too. It's great. Love all of the costumes, and even though sometimes you could see their actual teeth, I think they did an amazing job. Like even while they were talking and like the facial expressions and stuff, it was done very, very well. Also getting to the political aspects of things, I think they were able to provide it very clearly without being over the top or over dramatic like you see nowadays. So I really appreciated that as well. I had a lot more commentary to say tonight, but kind of like Yemmy, I kept forgetting. Like as soon as it came to my mind, just boom, it went away. So I was happy to listen. But all in all, I'll give it. I'm sorry. I'm gonna give it a 2.5. I still have to give it a 2.5.
All right.
Oh, that's fine. Okay. Here comes Yemmy.
Oh, here she comes.
I desperately wanted to give this a 5 out of 5 because I do believe that it is like in terms of sci-fi, it's a classic, and in terms of just movie making, it's a wonderful achievement, especially for the late 60s. But you gotta knock it for the, even though most of the writing and most of the screenplay is written really well, you gotta knock it for the crazy like sections of sexism that they have in here. And I was kind of like a bit appalled, especially during the opening sequence when they're talking about how the lady at the ship was going to be the new Eve. Like I was just kind of like appalled and kind of disgusted while they were talking about that. And for the time, obviously it's like, oh, we're just writing what we know or whatever. Like obviously it's not an excuse. It's just like, it's just blatant, and it's just not welcomed, especially nowadays. But I feel like if that wasn't in the movie, if the sexist parts weren't in the movie, I feel like this would be like an easy 5 out of 5 review. But because those few scenes that we already talked about happened, it does go down in my opinion, and not a lot, but it is enough to be like, yeah, I gotta take off a little bit here because of this. But I obviously, as you heard throughout the podcast, I gush about this movie. I think it's an excellent piece of cinema. I think, besides from what we talked about, the writing's on point, the acting is a great, the costume design is fantastic, the atmosphere that they create, especially during those first 20 minutes where they're walking across the desert planet, I think is good. I really enjoyed the soundtrack. The music, obviously, like you guys already mentioned, like some of those sound effects and things that were in the soundtrack early on were a bit distracting. But I think in general, the like orchestral score and stuff like that to this film is excellent too. It really captures the imagination as you're watching it, and I think that it's a classic story with a classic ending. And it's one of the few movies that I would totally watch again, like the next day if I really wanted to. But obviously, I'm not alone in that opinion. But I'm gonna give it a 4.5. I wish I could give it a 5, but like I said, it's a 4.5 for right now.
Nice.
Okay, now it is up to Tay to deliver
That's
us a new movie.
So, I've got a movie for us, and it came out in 2022, directed by Joel Crawford. It is Puss in Boots: The Last Wish.
Oh yes,
Ooh, yes.
I haven't seen it yet. I heard good things about it. Been wanting to watch it, so it was on my list. I went, you know what? Let's do it.
Am I gonna understand it if I haven't seen any of the other Puss in
yes.
Boots movies?
Yes.
Don't worry. Yes.
Yeah.
This is a
Okay, cool.
standalone story.
Yeah.
Great.
Which is why I'm picking, because I didn't see the other one either. All right, so Puss in Boots discovers that his passion for adventure has taken its toll. He has burned through 8 of his 9 lives, leaving him with only 1 life left. That is how numbers work. Puss sets out on an epic journey to find the mystical last wish and restore his 9 lives. It's got Antonio Banderas, Selma Hayek, Harvey Guillén, Wagner Moura, and Florence Pugh's in it. And Olivia Colman, bunch of people. Came out again 2022, just 2 years ago.
And it is available on Netflix, Amazon, YouTube. I thought it was on Max as well. I'm pretty sure. Also,
Disney,
it's
right?
Puss. It's not Disney. It's DreamWorks.
Yeah,
Oh, that's
DreamWorks.
It's
Puss.
Puss in Boots.
Puss in
Haven't seen it
Boots.
since I saw it in theaters with Yemmy, so it'll be a good rewatch.
It's on 4K on Netflix. I'll watch the 4K experience.
Spoiler alert, I've seen this one 3 times now, and it's great. So I will happily watch it again in preparation for the podcast.
As Callus would say, we've seen it within 2 years. We had to rewatch it. Kidding.
I don't see a person named Callus here, so
That was a rule specifically for somebody named Callus who used to be here, because he would try to get out of watching movies. Well, I watched it 3 years ago. Is that okay? No.
Dang it, Callus.
Oh, Callus.
We love you, Callus.
So yes, if you, the listener, don't want to be spoiled, or if you want to join the conversation for Puss in Boots: The Last Wish, make sure you check that out before the next episode airs in 2 weeks. And don't forget that the fan vote will be happening next episode. So if you want to vote in that, we'll reveal the movies for the vote, and I will open it up on the same day that the episode airs, and it lasts all that weekend. So if you want to vote, make sure you do it lickety-split rather than latety-late. All right. I think that's it. Does anyone have any small recommendations this week, perhaps?
The early access of Hades 2 is out. I was playing it all last night.
too.
If you enjoyed the first one, get it.
Yeah, it's really good so far.
Yeah,
I love the new character, the new main character, Melanie. Is that her
Yeah.
name? Melanie?
Melanoe.
Melanoe.
Mel. They call her Mel.
Yeah, I think she has such a more interesting character design and so far story than
I
her
I
brother.
really like Zagreus. See, I feel like Hades 1 now with this. Hades 1 just kind of felt like the prologue to this story. Just a little bit I've gotten through. Where I'm just like, okay, this is going places.
Yeah,
Uh,
same. Definitely check it out. It's feels a lot like the first one, but it feels a lot and looks a lot, but it's totally different. Like
Yeah.
totally
And it's still
different.
early access, so there are some like placeholder things I've noticed. But that's fine. They're just placeholder like graphics.
And this is one of those games that makes you rethink, like, early access. Should I really invest in early access? Yeah, this one is definitely worth your time and
Yeah.
money.
Yeah.
Nice.
Agreed.
My small recommendation is to invest in a really good water bottle and a Brita pitcher.
Ooh.
Because
Mm.
I have had different water bottles. I tried the Stanley before it was cool, but it leaks all the frickin' time. So I was over it, and I got an Awala, and it's amazing, and I love it so much.
I'd say if they're still around, I think they're still around. Nalgene water bottles. I bought a Nalgene water bottle in high school, and never had to replace it. These things are basically indestructible.
Will you send a picture of it in chat? Because I don't even know what that is.
Sure.
Wait,
Oh,
which
another-
water bottle you say you have?
Me?
No, I'm sorry, Ray.
Oh, right.
It's Awala, Owala.
Is that the one where it has like the fruit or whatever commercials to it or something?
Fruit commercials. I have no idea. I found this on Amazon.
I guess it's a no.
No.
I don't have cable, so I have no idea.
I mean, who?
No,
who really has?
There's
cable?
one that is like the lid like
That's fair.
makes the taste like fruit or something like
Oh,
that.
that's,
Oh,
like,
that's
that's
a
called like Air Up
circle.
or something like that.
Yeah.
No, that's a circle, right? Oh
Yeah.
no, I know exactly what you're talking about. That's not a circle.
Yeah,
I don't know. What
I think
it's called,
it's
though.
Air Up, and like it puts like it gives you like the scent,
Yeah,
but it doesn't actually change the water. It's been making
That's
the rounds
so
on like
weird.
YouTube right now because people
Yeah.
are taking sponsorships from them.
I saw it on TikTok.
Well, that too. I mean, yeah.
I think Circle is what I was leading. No, it wasn't Circle.
No,
It's-
Circle has the
I-
packets.
No, okay, then yeah, it's the one Yemmy was talking about. I know I've seen it
Yeah.
on because I have YouTube TV, so I've been seeing it on that, and I'm just like,
Nice.
interesting.
Yeah, I guess I have streaming services with ads, so technically I do have cable. It's just
Yeah.
I do have one more small recommendation.
Can I go
Oh.
first?
Oh, okay, yes, of course.
Okay. Then you can do yours. Your second one. My small recommendation is to go to your local national historical site and support what they do. We recently visited the Mansfield Reformatory where they filmed Shawshank Redemption, and they're doing a wonderful job with their tours and stuff like that. So just going out there supporting your local historical society because they're usually nonprofit is would be my small recommendation.
nice. I've been out there. It's really cool.
Oh yeah, it was awesome.
A good one.
Look
Yeah,
like
no,
it from
agree.
your pictures.
The other recommendation is a TV show on Netflix right now called Dead Boys Detectives. It's part of the Sandman universe, and it's a really good show. So that's my other recommendation,
Aw.
especially if you enjoyed the Sandman.
You
Or
said
just Sandman.
You said Dead Boys, not Du Bois, right?
Dead Boys Detectives. Dead
Dead
Boy
Boys.
Detectives. Yeah. The Boys.
New
I'm
season comes
watching
out soon?
Monk, and Monk is great.
Okay. Well, thank you, listener, for listening to this episode. We do appreciate that. These come out every 2 weeks. We also would appreciate if you give it a rating on Spotify and maybe leave a review on Apple Podcasts. And if you so desire, leave a comment on the latest episode. It helps out the the podcast itself, and it also makes us all feel good inside. Um, and like I said before, if you want to add movies to the the fan vote, make sure you do it in the locations that I described, where the comment section of the latest episode, the email, or on the Discord itself. Link is in the description for that if you so desire to join. And let's go ahead and say our goodbyes. I have been Yemmy the Ferret, and I've been here with...
I am Greedy Waffles.
Animation.
Ray positivity.
And this has been Film Freaks with a Z. Thank you for listening. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.